Hello, everyone. My name is Julie McVeigh, and this is Unordinary Made Ordinary, where we talk about extraordinary experiences of everyday people. And today, our special guests are Cyan and Paul. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'm so glad we could do this today. Very excited about the conversation. Our time is limited, so we're going to get right into it. Please just share a little bit about yourselves, a little bit background on each of you, if that's okay.
Right. Had contact since I was a very young child. Basically, like, most people ended up on craft, sort of talking to the beings, all the rest of it. Sort of would consider myself initially as an abductee because I didn't know what was going on. But over the years, I started to work out that I wasn't being abducted at all. I was actually just being contacted. It's like being taken to the doctor. You don't like your parents if you're going to the doctor to get a needle or something. So in the end, when I was 18, I had a craft turn up at my house and had my friends with me, and we saw the craft and the beings inside. It was only about 10 meters away. My friends actually drove under the craft in their car. That was pretty interesting. I saw them do that. When I was about, 50, I guess, we had a craft land in New South Wales in Australia. And I had about 20 people with me when it happened. And the beings came out and walked around us. And some people were able to experience that. Other people were in an altered state. So our task, our role, what we do is based around working with extraterrestrials, evidencing what we do. And so they've also healed a lot of people as well. So that's an ongoing process for them and us. Okay.
Thank you.
I've had not quite as much contact as that, but lifelong contact as well. Started when I was 4, various visitations over the years, been working with them 10, 15 years on a conscious level rather than not really understanding what was going on. I've been working with spirit since my late teens, physical mediumship and all the clairs. Continue to sit today doing cabinet work as well as sitting for the extraterrestrials to talk as well. So quick synopsis.
Okay, there's sitting, cabinet work. Those are unfamiliar terms, but we can get into that in a minute. Some of the listeners might know what that means. So, okay, you kind of just threw it out there. And I was going to ask, like, what got you into these topics, but it sounds like it was pretty early for both of you. And like with you, Cyan, you said you had some clairs working very in early age.
Yeah. I was very much a complete atheist up until I hit my late teens. I didn't believe in anything at all. As far as I was concerned, once you were dead, and that was it. And then I had an experience that made me really question what had gone on. And in the search for my questions and answers, it led me to a spiritualist church in England, where I was living at the time. And everything just happened extremely quickly. I began to hear spirit physically, like they were talking to me behind, like they were literally stood there speaking in my ear. I could see them, I could feel them. It's like it's like a doorway opened after that one experience, and it never shut. it did actually shut for about a year when I hit 21, and I had like a complete overload of it. It's like it almost became too much, and my mind did shut down from it for a while, but it didn't take long to open back up again.
Wow. Okay. And Paul, for you, same kind of a situation. Wow.
Yeah. So, spirit people, I can see them like I can see just you normally walking down the street. I walk past internet cafes and see spirit people leaning over the back of their loved ones, watching the screen. I guess for us, it's just all normal, but for other people, it seems.
I mean, in the beginning, it had to be an adjustment, I would think, or as
There was a big adjustment for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
wow. Okay. Yeah, it's getting dark there again. Can you use your energy to lighten it up? Because I know you can do that. The two of you. Thank you. Thank you. That's working. I appreciate that. Literally, it just happened. I don't know if you could see that. That was weird. Okay, so I'm okay. If it's all right with you, can you go into a little bit more, maybe about when you had the craft appear, because that's going to be a lot of people will be interested to hear that a little more
So which
specifics.
craft would you like me to talk about? The first one or the second one?
Yeah, maybe could both a little bit, if that's
Okay.
okay. Okay, thanks.
All right. So I'm 18 years old and I'm on a 3rd story floor block of units, and I'm standing at the kitchen window washing dishes, I'm guessing, and I'm looking out, and then suddenly there's a craft there about, I don't know, 10 meters long, about 3 or 4 meters high. And of course, back then there was no internet, there was nothing. So I was just like, I think that's a craft. It's, you know, what is that? It's anyway, it's not a balloon. That's the first thing. And I said to my friend, hey, come over here, look at this. And he walks over and I said, can you see that? He goes, yep. He goes, that looks like a craft. I said, well, okay, well, thank you, you know. And we looked down the road, we could see this car coming, and the car went underneath the craft, and these people came running upstairs, pounding on our door, and we knew them, and they're screaming, aliens, there's aliens. And we're like looking, going, yeah, we know. And so the 4 of us are standing there looking at this craft, and then suddenly the side went clear for about 2 or 3 meters. And these 2 extraterrestrial greys were standing there looking at us. And they were only about 10 meters away. Now, we didn't know what greys were back then, but we knew that we were having some type of extraterrestrial encounter. We weren't silly. So that lasted, I guess, from the time that the craft appeared to the craft leaving, about 5 minutes. This craft just sat there for. That's how long it seemed. Interestingly, after the craft left, all of us just turned around together, completely synchronized, walked back into the lounge room, sat down and watched TV, and we never spoke of it again. And it was only years later that the screen memory lifted, and I went, oh, wow, I remember that.
Oh, my word. How many were there?
Oh, about 10. Well, you mean how long after?
No, how many people were?
Oh, 4.
4 of you. Okay.
Yeah. So, and people go, did you get your iPhone out? Listen, there were no phones except the ones with the dial thing on the front. Okay.
I remember.
Go, why didn't you get your brownie camera out? You mean the one with the handle on the side? Like, I mean, whatever. No, I get this question all the time.
Man.
Did you get a video of that? No, because that was the last thing I was thinking about doing, is getting a picture of it. Now, of course, if we fast forward to New South Wales, we organised a craft to come. It took about 2 to 3 weeks of vectoring, and I don't mean C5. I don't really use C5. It's just a process other people use. And so I was vectoring the craft in, and they knew where to come. So I organised a group of people to turn up there, and we were all sitting in a big circle around a fire. And the circle was about 8 meters across, I guess. That's a fairly big, large circle. And I was looking up at the sky. It was a very clear night, beautiful stars. And I got this feeling that they were about to arrive. And I said to everybody, okay, it's about to happen now. Nobody had their phones on them. You were not allowed to have any electronic devices, no jewelry, nothing. This is standard contact procedure.
Really? No jewelry.
Yeah,
Okay.
and standard contact with spirits as well. They do not like any type of metal on a person, crystals, anything, not when there's a physical contact taking place. And so all of a sudden, because this property was 25 acres and every other property around it was about 20 acres, all the animals, the dogs, started to howl right around us, right? So all the dogs are howling. And I thought, oh, here we go, it's about to happen.
Yep.
I looked off to my right, and this steam was rolling in and it came in about a meter above us, and it was like a ceiling had been created around us. And I thought, this is just so
Oh
amusing.
my. How many
And
people? I'm sorry. How many
20,
people? 20. Okay.
20, yeah. One of them was in your chat the other day and actually told you the story, which is really interesting.
The Q&A. That's up.
Yeah, the Q&A, yeah. And so I was facing the direction that the craft was going to land, and I saw it come down through the steam, we'll call it steam, and it landed. And at that time, I was
Man.
looking around at everybody, and you could tell that people were pretty tranced out. You know, the energy from this whole experience was fairly significant.
Okay.
I'd had a lot of experience with contact with the race, and was able to withstand the pressure to black out. That's generally what happens is when
Okay.
humans have contact with extraterrestrials, they just zonk out and then they get taken aboard a craft. And so myself and another person, another medium, were able to withstand the pressure from doing trance. And the beings came out of the craft, walked around everybody, and stood behind everyone and put their 3 fingers on people's shoulders, even myself. We could hear them walking behind us as well. Remember that there was a lot of steam around us as well. So
Right.
it's not like now it was really super clear. You couldn't see the sky anymore. They had completely encased us with this stuff. That was so that, you know, that they were protecting themselves as well.
Okay.
And then they only there, you know, a minute maximum. They walked off,
Wow.
went into the craft, and up she went. And then the steam rolled backwards, as it always does, I guess. And then all the animals stopped howling.
Okay. Any interpretations or understanding of what the steam is about?
The steam for me is just, we had to organise with them that for them to be as safe as possible.
Somehow
And
that's
so
a protective barrier?
Yeah, well, no, it's more about visual identification. So if you're suddenly wrapped in fog, it's very difficult for you to see a distance away, but also looking in, all somebody can see is fog.
Oh.
So they wouldn't see the craft.
They wouldn't have seen the craft. So, if, you know, there was a main road about, you know,
so that's a lot of
500 meters
steam.
away. Yeah, so
That's a lot of steam.
you know, you can imagine if someone was driving down the road and saw a craft, the first thing they'd do is jump on their phone, you know, contact somebody, whatever.
Sure.
They wouldn't have seen anything. But the thing is, you know, people go, "Oh, well, I don't believe you because you didn't take any pictures." We actually don't care because we're the ones getting the experiences while other people don't. You know?
So I was just thinking from the road, it might just look like fog had come in or something. And they'd be like, "Oh, foggy evening or whatever." What is what are the fingers on the shoulder, you think? Do you know what that's about?
Their hands, putting their hands on our shoulder, physically touching
from
us.
behind.
So
Well, like, what's the purpose of that? To say hello, or
to let us know that it's actually happening, because quite often if you're in an altered state, it could seem like some sort of a dream as well. But everybody was able to, after, say what they had experienced. Some people said that they didn't see the beings, but they heard them. That was probably one of the most outstanding features. The ground was really granular, a very coarse sand, and when you walked on it, anything walked on it, you could hear it crunching.
Yeah.
And nobody could sneak up behind you or anything like that. And so they knew that from they would have done a scan of the terrain and where they were landing.
Yeah.
They knew that, and so when they were walking, they were able to identify. People were able to identify when someone was walking behind them and when somebody had stopped. They also then put their hands on the shoulders of people so that they got a physical sensation that these beings were physical and not, you know, non-corporeal entities.
Right.
So yeah, I think that they really did work out how to try to evidence themselves the best way that they could. Not understanding a couple of things. One is that if you've never had contact with extraterrestrials consciously, that the potential for you to black out is quite high. The second thing is that your mind, your local construct, is going to start saying this isn't happening, it's not real, you know, all these sorts of things. And you
Yeah.
could end up, you know, possibly with some issues after it. So they didn't want any of that. And they did the best they possibly could to make people as relaxed as possible in an altered state.
Why do you think that is? Why do humans have, or some humans have, such a hard time accepting it to the point where it could cause damage? Do you have any theories on that?
Well, you can think about the way you're brought up. I mean, you're told that everything is one thing. It's this, you know, it's based on this. You've got this religious belief, you've got this, you know, and then of course, suddenly, you know, in the past, people would, you know, extraterrestrials, we're talking about extraterrestrials. That of course now there's a lot of disclosure taking place, UAP disclosure. People are much more open in regards to, yeah, they want evidence. We all want evidence, you know, what's actually been going on, you know, the truth. Yeah. And so I think, you know, a lot of people, they can't stand, not can't stand it, they can't withstand the energy of the contact. We have a certain vibration that we hold, we all do as humans. These beings, or these different races, have different vibrations. When they come into our existence, it causes us to become disorientated.
Interesting. That actually makes sense. I wonder if it bothers them then to sort of come down
Definitely
to this.
does
Makes
absolutely.
them maybe nauseous or something. I don't know.
It's the same as spirits. When spirits,
Oh.
because we work a lot with spirit people, when spirits come down, you know, sort of decrease their vibrational frequency, it affects them. It's like they're coming down into a thicker dimension, whereas they're used to being in a much finer dimension.
Subtle. Yeah.
Yeah, subtle. Yeah.
So yes, let our viewers, listeners know about your mediumship abilities, if you wouldn't mind as well. Could you share a little bit about that, your experience with spirits?
As well, with spirits.
Yeah.
Both of us are developing physical mediums. I've had independent direct voice, which is when the voices speak for themselves around the room in red light. We both do cabinet work.
Yeah, what is that? What is cabinet? Cabinetry. It's not fixing your cabinets. No, this is something different.
No, it's not anything to do with kitchens. It's to do with that you create a cabinet that you sit in with a curtain at the front, you know.
Okay.
And it's for blocking out the light, keeping the energy in, so that as the energy coalesces around you, your own life force, that it's in a protected environment and not exposed to light. All right. So you know, everybody develops differently. That's the thing. And cyan also develops in the cabinet as well, but we don't use it all the time. But because we work with the extraterrestrials and with spirit, we have two separate processes. And what we like to do is evidence the way that the spirit would come. So we had a spirit come, he gave us all of his information, and then we were able to find his records, birth, death, marriage, all those sorts of things. It's just silly to accept any type of spirit contact without trying to evidence it, because you could just end up with anything talking to you, and then of course you end up in all sorts of problems.
Can I ask just real quickly, how long ago was that second craft experience? What year was that?
About 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years. Okay. And you have been having continual contact with the Zeta race specifically, which is of the Greys, and spirit for these last 10 years and working.
Since I was 5 years old.
Before, with spirits as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you give me a little bit of, so Zetas are the only race that you've been working with, correct?
No.
Not any other? Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Can you share?
So we've had discussions with the Palladians. We've had discussions with the Anunnaki. We've had discussions with the Honorians. There are other races, but you know, probably the Sirius A, Sirius B beings as well. I mean, you've got to understand, once you've got contact with the race and they realize that you're going to just be informal with them, that you're going to be able to communicate with them, they'll then introduce other beings, other races to you. This
Okay.
whole concept that humans are somehow, I don't know, whatever, just being abused by extraterrestrials for some reason, it just doesn't float with me. And I think that once the extraterrestrials realise that, you're not going to be that way with them, or whatever, then they also bring other races. And I'm sure that they're bringing a lot of other races to a lot of other people as well.
Okay.
30% of the human race are hybrids anyway. So
Okay, there's so much to unpack here in this this 1 minute of that you shared. I did personally know that you had communicated with other races, but you consider that you are also work with them. I thought you've kind of more exclusively worked with the Zetas, but you work with them all.
yeah. So we work with the Zetas, because the Zetas are the ones that primarily are the ones that are doing all the healing for people. So we have hundreds of people who have been healed. To be honest, I spoke to Kathleen Martin yesterday. She's one of the people that's been healed by the Zetas through our contact with them. She's written a post on the Alien Jigsaw in regards to that, and identified that yes, she was healed by the Zetas. Kathleen is the ex-director, international director of MUFON. So, the Zetas are working with a lot of people, but it's all happening under the covers sort of thing. They're able to heal fairly significant issues as well. But whether they heal someone or not, it's up to them. They make the choice.
So, I'm sorry, please continue. I don't want to.
Oh, no, I was just about to say, when we say we work with other races, they come, they talk, but, what are they doing? That's up to them. They've all got their own specific agendas.
I think it's important for the listeners to hear you express, there are abductees. This does happen. The Zetas are apparently not those part of the grays that do that, and they're actually healing. They, from what you have shared before, they have only good intentions for humanity.
Yeah.
So what is the deal with the abductee situation? Can you share?
Okay, well, it's all a little bit convoluted, but basically when you think about a species like humans are a species, and we've got multiple races. Well, the greys are the same. So they've got, 63 specific races for the species. The abductors are one specific race. That race does interact with humans in a way that's really not healthy. And they are taking genetic material. They're looking to, do things for their own race that are missing. And I think a lot of people already know that, that there's things that are missing from that specific race that they're looking to try to re-implement. The Zetas and other races of the grey species, they're not missing anything. And those 62 specific races, they work as a collective consciousness. They work together. And, one of the races is a scientific race, right? Another part of the race are the ones that probably build craft. Another part of the races might be the ones that provide all the nourishment and food and vegetation for races as well. So they all work together as a collective, as a hive, to perform specific functions. Now, the Zetas themselves are scientifically created by their own race. They're a technical race, and they're able to genetically modify their own containers. They see the form that they exist in as a container. Just as the human body is a container for spirits, they see their container as being one that they can populate as well.
Don't let me forget to not get back to hybrids, but what's the difference between spirit and consciousness? I thought consciousness inhabits the human body and consciousness inhabits the Zeta container. Yeah.
So when we talk about consciousness, of course, source consciousness is without any barriers. If we think about the term God or 0 point energy or source or whatever, we're looking at a situation where there are no manifestations of matter. But when we talk about your race, the human race, our race, when we talk about the Zetas, they're all specific, individuated energies of consciousness initially created from source, brought through into matter, and then all the races exist on their own. Now, of course, spirit people inhabit the human container and have the human experience. And the Zetas also come forward, create their own containers, inhabit them, and then leave them when they need to. But the difference is this: the spirit realm, where spirit people, move into, incarnate out of, that's the technology, but that's the method that's used for spirit people to move in and out of the human race. Whereas with the Zetas and other races, they don't need a spirit realm. What they do is they just work out how their physical container is going. They can create a new container. They can drop the old container and step into the new one if they require. So they don't need a spirit realm to do that.
So you're saying the spirit realm is an intermediary, like it's like a place for consciousness to dwell, so it can go from back and forth between incarnations?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Oh, that's interesting. Is there anyone else like this human race where there's a spirit realm that, the consciousness goes into the spirit, comes to the human, back to the spirit realm, and is a spirit realm the afterlife that people talk about?
Yes, it's the afterlife. Absolutely.
Same thing.
And,
the afterlife,
of course,
come back. Okay.
So yeah, there are other races that have spirit realms.
There are others. Okay.
Not all of them. Not all of them have. See, this is the thing. We can't make the mistake of expecting that all races are going to have exactly the same process, because they don't. And if we can understand that, then it's easier for us to interact with them, because we're more flexible in our thinking.
I wonder why. I mean, I don't know if it's some metaphysical thing, why a spirit, or there's other races that they got to go back to that middle place, afterlife, first before they incarnate again, rather than like the Zetas who, no, you just get a new container. You don't have to.
Yeah. Well, when my dad passed over, nobody even knew that he died, and he came and spoke to me. And then an hour later, the phone rang, and they said, "Oh, we just found your dad." So he'd already been talking to me for an hour. 7 months later, I visited the spirit realm, and I went to the place called the Healing Hall, and my father was there, and he was being healed by other spirits.
You went there in astral body, or how would you describe that? Consciousness, dream?
I just went there. I don't know. I don't want to put a label on it.
Not your physical body, but.
No, but I went there. I know that, people astral, everyone can astral, some better than others maybe, but people can enter spirit realm if they want to.
Okay. For someone like me, I picture as remote viewing almost, or just as a point of consciousness, maybe is how you visit, but I don't know because I haven't done that.
Well, yeah, there's a difference between remote viewing and astraling, but the difference is that I actually go into spirit realm and talk to the spirits.
Telepathically?
No, with like talking, talking like I'm talking to you.
You use words out loud, like English, whatever. And
because, as you know, when you leave your body, if we're going to talk in that manner, that if you touch your etheric hand, that it feels like this, physical, right?
Yes.
So of course, if you're in spirit realm, everything you feel is physical, because that's the existence of spirit realm.
Okay, let's get back to hybrids, and then maybe we can talk about astral too. But hybrids, what in the world? 30% of the humans on the planet are hybrids. Is that new, or has it always been about 30%? And what are hybrids?
Okay, so basically 70 years ago, the other races started to see that humans were developing technology. That technology was moving out slowly into, other realms, specifically radio technologies, those sorts of things, cellular tower or whatever. They started to realize that the ramifications of that were that it would affect their own races as well, ultimately, especially if they look on the timeline and they have a look at the development of the human race, like things like SpaceX and all that. And then they see that ultimately humans are going to venture out into space and live on other planets. What they would need to do is to have a look at what this species is all about. And so 70 years ago, the first hybrids were starting to be born. Where extraterrestrial
70.
70, yeah, 70, like 70. So
Okay.
the extraterrestrials started coming and living as hybrids themselves and experiencing the human race. They would, under agreement with spirit people, join the human and become the hybrid. And, you know, of course, then since then we've gone through these permeations of extraterrestrials, star people, and the rainbow people, or whatever you want to call them, indigo children, all those sorts of things. And, you know, the next generation's always probably better than the last, all sorts of silliness. But anyway, these are human concepts that come up with.
So if you're older than 70, you would be a hybrid?
You could be, but the potential is that it was around 70 years ago. Because the reason that we know that is because of the types of implants that were put into hybrids back then. They were more physical, whereas now the implants that are used to guide and direct hybrids are more etheric-based technology.
So the technology of the races, the ET races have gotten better. Is that why?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty fast though. In 70 years, they've improved that much, I guess. It seems fast, but
not really, because when you think of 70 years here, could be 700 years there.
See, we haven't talked about that either.
That's all about compression.
So hybrids, a spirit person and an ET person is sharing a human container.
Yeah, that's right. Simple.
Okay, simple. And then how do they come to that agreement? Because does the ET and the spirit person in the afterlife somehow connect consciously? Because I thought Zetas don't go into the spirit realm.
Well, no, actually, extraterrestrials do not enter the spirit realm. That's an unwritten or written law, I guess, that every entity has free will. So mum and dad are asleep, and but their higher self is in operation, and they're allowed to be contacted because they're in physical living bodies. They're not in spirit realm. The extraterrestrials can talk to them and ask them for if they will agree to allow, and they'll explain the whole concept of what's going on. And if the parents agree to it, then generationally, what happens is that you have a line of hybrids coming down the generation.
Oh, so the higher self mom, the higher self dad.
Yeah.
The couple but their higher selves communicate with the Zetas. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And come to that contract. Interesting. See, I didn't know that. So I'm still learning things. And okay, real quick, let's see if we're good on time. I think we're good. Difference between, because I know my listeners are going to want to know this, difference between astral realm and spirit realm. Because a lot of people are convinced that when we go into the astral realm, we can visit the afterlife spirit realm as in our astral or etheric body. I don't know. I guess you can differentiate between the astral and etheric body, but
yeah, physical body. We have an etheric body. The etheric body is a mirror image of the physical body, but it's an energetic body. You've got your consciousness, and your consciousness can project itself into the astral, right? Now, the astral can be, and so the astral can be a lot of things, but generally, stage one of astral, if we say that, is the physical environment that you're living in. So you can step out of your body and walk around your room.
In your etheric body, or would you say it's
in your astral body or your energetic body, right? Now, the thing is, you can, if you increase your frequency, like a radio dial, click, 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 if you increase your frequency, you're able to move beyond the physical parameters of the astral and move into different interdimensional spaces within the astral realm. But spirit realm is actually a different space. It's a different frequency. So just imagine, the easiest way to imagine is just having a radio, and it's got, you know, a knob here, click, 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 click. And depending on where you want to go, in what frequency, depends on where you are on the dial. I mean, we all talk about, you know, this is this place and this is that place, whatever. But in the end, all of this stuff is one. But I guess for conversation, people we all do, try to place things into ways that we can understand them.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many, so the astral realm, so the spirit realm is not the astral. Let me ask you this. When I turn up the frequency, or I change the channel, and I exit my body, and my etheric body, I'm on its frequency, and I can turn it up to, or I can turn it to a different channel. How many channels are out there that I can,
Infinite.
as an etheric person, I can personally, okay. And
So
then,
let me tell you, let me say, you're the one that's stopping yourself from experiencing that by all of your belief systems and all of your
dang
boxes, that,
beliefs
all of your
out of my
filter.
head. I want to get them
Yeah.
out. But I can also, then does that mean I can also go to that vibrational level of the spirit realm? And
Yeah, mediums do it all the time.
okay.
Mediums go up in frequency, join with spirits, and spirits come down, but that doesn't mean that there's a process called heterodyning. So if as a medium goes up in frequency, and how they do that's their own technique. If spirit people want to join in with that frequency and create a heterodyne state, a joined state, then what happens is the spirit can push the medium up into spirit, or I shouldn't say up, that's a terrible thing, but like the medium can be taken into spirit realm as well. And I'm sure that a lot of mediums, I actually know a lot of mediums, and so they've also been in spirit realm as well. So they know about the healing hall. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Unless you want to share something specific to what we've shared so far and think I probably should have added that or this, then I'll ask you a couple other questions if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. What is I know this will get a little bit more philosophical and maybe more complex, but what is the purpose of God consciousness, source consciousness? What is the purpose of the existence of source? Do you know? Have the Zetas clued you in? Do they? Maybe they don't know.
No, they said to me once, I was with them, and some of these experiences for us, they're not here physically, they're off planet. So a lot of people that are with extraterrestrials off planet a lot, especially at night. Yeah? And so once I said to them, could you show me what you believe is God? And so we were sort of like floating in some esoteric type universal process. And we looked and could see this glow on the edge of a constellation glowing, or a nebula. And they said, that's what we believe source consciousness is, but we can't get near it.
And did they tell you why they couldn't get near it? What would happen if they do?
Frequency, once again. So, the problem is when you go anywhere near these type of infinite frequencies that exist as source, it means that no longer can a construct exist. And so as you start to move closer towards these entities, this source consciousness, you can no longer exist yourself, because source is pure consciousness. It has no constructs, it has no filters. And so as people say that they're moving towards God, basically that means that they have to let go of themselves as they do that. And that's why races and beings specifically can't go too close to source, because they would lose themselves in the attempt.
It sounds like you're saying their brains would be scrambled and they wouldn't be able to find their way back to who they were.
I would suggest that your local consciousness would dissolve, because, of course, source doesn't need a local consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the purpose of the Zetas for humanity? Why now? What's their interest in us?
This has been a very long project. Anyone that has studied extraterrestrials knows about the Council of Nine. And the Council of Nine has multiple races on it. The races are all very much living within our, sort of area, our field. And so they also see the potential for humans to destroy this planet that humans think that's theirs, but it actually isn't.
Yeah.
And so a lot of races are very much involved in supporting humanity. It's not just the Zetas. Yeah.
You said the Council of Nine. Do you want to give us a couple names, or do you know the names of?
Do I want to name drop? Is that what you're saying?
Do you want to name? Is that okay? I'm sure people are curious if you
Look,
happen to.
I can tell you a couple of names, but in the end, like people can just look this stuff up for themselves. Yeah.
Oh, I think people don't, well, some
The
are,
Palladians are on the Council of Nine, you know. There would be some Sirius representation, Sirius A, B, and B. There would be the Anunnaki as well on the council. The Zetas aren't represented on the, are not on the council, but they're represented on the council. The thing is, the council is also very much a fluid body. It's not just this static thing, and everyone's always on it. And it depends on what's taking place. Julie, there's a lot more to this. Things like synthetic quantum environments that exist around the planet and how they're used by humans to jump to other planets. It's called jump room technology. There's things to, I know I'm talking about things here that probably
synthetic quantum environments. And this is, how many people know about this? Is this like a
there's a lot of people that would probably know about this, but not the general public.
And how long has this been in use, and who created these quantum synthetic?
SQEs have been around before humans existed.
Who created those?
Extraterrestrials.
For the purpose of humans to be able to planet hop? Is that what you're saying?
That's one reason. There's many reasons why these SQEs are used. Yes, many reasons. Some of them are where they house craft and where humans are taken to experience. Think of a holographic environment where you can go to and experience what you need to experience, but without actually being taken too far off planet.
Mm-hmm. That would remind me of sort of an astral experience. I mean, right? Yeah. You go out, and so there's no physical harm that can be done, but you can still have experiences.
That's right.
And learn.
That's right.
Okay. And I had another question about, because something you had mentioned, and I think it's kind of important in another conversation we had, for mediums and being able to differentiate between, like, when a spirit comes in and is pretending to be an ET, and I don't know if that's common knowledge. Could you share a little bit about that?
Okay, so the in vogue thing is to be channeling ET, and people need to be very careful that there are a lot of spirits that are pretending to be ET because of one very good reason. When a spirit comes, generally a medium will go, "Oh, hang on, tell me about your life. When were you born? When did you die? What did you die of? Who did you know?" And so that's an evidential process, and the medium can work out if it's really who they say they are.
Yeah.
Whereas when a spirit comes and says that they're from the planet Andromeda, the person may just go, "Okay, no problem." And not,
who do I know that I can evidence?
Yeah, yeah. And so, you weren't my grandmother or whatever. But in the end, it's more about a lot of spirit people, trickster spirits, I guess you could call them, earthbound. They don't particularly want to try to evidence themselves, so they just say that they're, from the love and light, this, and that. And we see a lot of this every day from people that end up falling foul of this type of behavior.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Every day? So I was going to ask, how common is that?
Every day.
Oh, that's kind of disappointing. And when you say trickster, like, what's the spectrum of tricking, from just fooling around to being evil, or like?
Yeah, it could be just a bit of annoying behavior, or it could be that they actually have an agenda. The earthbound spirit has an agenda where they're trying to drive the medium to perform a specific thing. We don't want to get too much into this because this is a completely different area. We want to keep it really positive. And we generally, people, it's just your own intention. If you realize that that spirit person that's with you isn't who they say they are, they have to leave anyway. So it's not like you've got to do some big process to get rid of them or anything. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's good. We are getting close to being out of time, and I know you have another appointment, but I'll just ask this. This will be super easy to answer. Not really, maybe not. What is the purpose of Source for all of creation? You can answer that in 5 seconds. Yeah. Why did Source could have just been left to Source, but there's just infinite creation and existence, non-physical and
Mm.
physical.
Interestingly, we did a podcast last night that answers this question.
Ooh, and I want all of your information that we can share with the listeners after this, okay? Anything that you'd be willing to share so they can connect with you.
Yeah, so the podcast talks about this, but initially, if you look in Genesis, it says that source or God was looking over the darkness, the void, and the deep, and then through intention created, manifestation of matter. And when you understand that, for source to experience the opposite of its own existence, it had to create an opposite environment. Source existed in void, as the Bible states, and created a material realm, the universes, to experience by individuated consciousness into specific entities, rocks, trees, fish, any entity that exists in the universe. And that's the purpose of Source, creating individuated consciousness.
Thank you. I'm so glad that that was easy for you because you just answered it last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a complex discussion. You could talk a while on that, I think, but we are out of time. But I do want to know what projects you're working on now that you might want to share, and anything you want to share about how listeners can connect with you.
We are always working on a daily basis on multiple projects. We are currently writing a couple of books. I've just finished writing a new book called The Zeta Mind. That book is based on contacting extraterrestrial races yourself. And it's a small handbook with step-by-step instructions on how to develop yourself safely and evidentially so that you can go out there and experience the universe for yourself. That's plus, of course, we're developing all of our own mediumship, supporting spirit work and healing. So there's always a lot of healing that's taking place.
Yeah.
We do a lot of one-on-one discussions with people and support their development.
Helping them to understand their own experiences.
Yeah. And give them advice on how to develop. We have a lot of people contact us with issues within their environment, like their houses, activities, poltergeist activities, these sorts of things, extraterrestrial contact that they don't understand, spirit contact. And so the days are always very busy with a wide range of things that take place. Our website is the-zeta-connection.com. And we have a blog post on there. And then we've started populating our YouTube channel with podcasts as well. And people can send us questions via an email address called zeta_events@hotmail.com. And we will answer their questions in the next podcasts.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, and I know so much free downloadable stuff on your site. This has been a wonderful and fascinating conversation. I have loved it. And just before signing off, if there's any last words, I want to make sure you can squeeze those in. Anything on your heart that you'd want to share?
I'd say in regards,
a lot.
I know, but I'd just say in regards to disclosure and what's currently happening in the media, if extraterrestrials were going to attack the planet, they would have done it already, so it hasn't happened. The disclosure from their perspective is a very different perspective, whereas disclosure from humanity is all about, craft in the sky and, do we have extraterrestrial contact? They're totally so far apart that if there was disclosure today by figures of authority in regards to, extraterrestrials exist, tomorrow we would all still be standing outside looking at the sky saying, well, where are the extraterrestrials? They're not going to come that way. And people need to use some common sense here. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things I say to people, just meditate and find your own stillness in yourself. Get your own peace in a chaotic world at the moment. And, not stop worrying about what could go wrong.
Very good advice. And Cyan, did you want it? You've been kind of quiet and letting Paul take the show, and which is
That's
nice, but
fine.
if anything that you'd want to share.
I would only echo what Paul said, to be honest. So I don't have anything to add to that without launching into a whole.
Yeah, we'll have to do another show. I mean, this is so cool.
Yeah,
So
and Simon can talk all the way through. I'll just drink tea.
that would be great too. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. I know you are very busy, so I appreciate this. And thank you to everyone watching. This has been Julie McVeigh with Unordinary Made Ordinary. And I hope you'll join us next time for another fascinating interview. And if you did enjoy this, of course, give it a thumbs up or hit the like button. And if you like this type of content, please subscribe. And we will sign off. I hope you're having a great day or evening wherever you are on the planet or off the planet. And we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.